Hello and welcome. This is a random rambling video recorded by me, Aaron Wills, on Thursday, August 21st, 2025 at 9:09 a.m. Along with welcoming you to my channel, allow me to thank you for watching. Please comment, like, and subscribe before sharing this video and turning on the post notification bell. I would like to dedicate this video to Scotty Butters, who apparently has sent a lot of people over to my channel. I've gotten a lot of comments in my comment section about Scotty Butters saying they found my channel through Scotty Butters. So I want to thank Scotty Butters in this video and tell you about his channel. Now, I can't imagine I can do much for him. It said 51,000 subscribers. And what he does, I guess it's a music channel. I don't know if he plays music, or I don't know if he does the music or just plays the music like a DJ type thing. But whatever the case, every Tuesday he goes live. Tuesdays he goes live at 8 o'clock Eastern, which would be 7 o'clock for me. I'm in St. Louis. I'll have to remember on Tuesday to tune in at 7 o'clock to watch his live. I guess it would be a podcast if he's live. I don't have the nerve to go live. I just record. But there's no difference because I don't edit these videos. I just record them and upload them. But there are times in which I've said things that were too boring. I've made videos that were too boring to upload, or I've said things that were too inappropriate to upload, and I just have the option of not uploading it. Whereas if I were live, in those situations, it's never usually anything too blatant or too bad, because I don't use certain very offensive words in my personal life, so they don't come out in the live stream. They wouldn't come out in the live stream. They don't come out when I make my videos. I don't use the N word in real life, so it doesn't ever slip out, and it wouldn't slip out if I went live. I don't use the F word, not fuck, but the F word that rhymes with tag. I don't use that in my real life. That would never slip out. I'm offended and do not use the word, well, I shouldn't even say it, but the word that starts with R that kind of rhymes with leotard. It doesn't rhyme with leotard, but it's got less syllables than leotard, but the ends rhyme. The end of the words rhyme. It starts with R that I don't use. I'm very offended by that. Not that I consider myself to be one, but I know that there are people that there's people with children who are have mental deficiencies, or have mental defects, or whatever you would say, that would be that are very offended by that word, and therefore I don't use it, and I'm offended by it as well. So now I'm talking about me live streaming, and I got off the subject of what I wanted to talk about in this whole video, which is sending you over to, oh, hang on, I gotta go do it in the other ear. I'm trying to put it in my other earbud, and I tried to put it in the same ear I got one in already. That didn't work, but now I got one in both ears. So this works. But anyway, I want whatever I can do for Scotty Butters' channel, I'm going to try to do. Although he has 51,000 subscribers, I have 330 now. Thanks to him, though. I started with a couple weeks ago, I had like 310 or 308, something like that. And now I have 330. And so much of that is thanks to Scotty Butters, because he has sent many people to my... I'm making a video, so... Oh, Kenny? Oh, is that Kenny's or mine? Huh? That's his? Oh, okay. There we go. Okay. Okay, I don't know if you could tell or not, but I do not wish to exit. Why does it ask me if I want to exit? I didn't say exit. It's asking me if I wish to exit. No, I don't want to exit. No. I just wanted to pause, and then I unpaused it. I don't know if you could tell that I was paused, but I had to pause it so that the person with my tray could pass behind me and put it on my bed, so that I could eat breakfast. So shortly I'm going to hang this video up, but I wanted to come in here and thank Scotty Butters for what he's done for my channel. I think I was saying before I had to pause the video that I don't know if he likes my deep sense of humor and that's why he's sending people over here, or if he likes my story. Um, so I would tell people, I would tell you again my story in case you don't know it. I won't go into it as deeply as I have in the past because it takes the whole video to do so. But I will tell you that on February 12th of 2008, I suffered a transischemic attack, which is a small stroke, which landed me in the hospital, which led to a double bypass surgery whilst I was in the hospital. And while recovering from that, a blood clot broke free from my heart and traveled to the right parietal lobe of my brain, which is right over here. And it nestled itself in there comfortably and firmly, causing a great deal of pressure on the inside of my skull, which was about to create a cerebral herniation, they call it, which means one side of my brain was going to pop through the other side of my brain. So they did what is called an emergency craniotomy. They cut me down here and then all over here, and they took my skull off for a few weeks before they put it back on. That's what this is. This is the result of the cranioplasty, which is putting the skull back on. So they took it off, craniotomy. They took it off and put it back on, cranioplasty. And that's my story. And from that story, I gained my faith back in God. I had lost my faith, which I'll tell that story as well. This helped me gain my faith because the doctors told me there's no reason that I'm alive. And my grandmother told me, well, there is a reason you're alive, honey, isn't there? I said, well, yes, I guess there is. And I said, well, what is it? She said, well, God wants you here. God has a purpose for you. I said, well, what purpose? She said, you don't know, you may never know. She said, you might have some service, some purpose that you don't ever know. And I said, oh. She said, it might be huge, it might be small. She said it might be a big purpose, might be just some tiny purpose that he has in mind for you. So God kept me alive after that surgery when the blood clot went to my brain, and the doctors all said that there's no reason I should be alive. As a matter of fact, while I was in the hospital recovering, doctor after doctor popped in my room to say I just wanted to see the miracle patient because they all knew the situation I was in and what happened, that I survived it. And several doctors, doctor after doctor popped in my room and said, I just wanted to see the miracle patient before you go home. And I'm like, yeah, it was a miracle. You're right. I mean, I'm sure that obviously the doctors did what they did, but their hands were guided by God, I believe. And so the fact that he was able to perform the surgery to keep me alive, his hands were guided by God. And I told him at one point, and I know they were, because at one point I told him, "Thank you for saving my life." He said, "No, thank God." And I said, "Oh, I have." And so I know that he was a believer, and it gave me my faith back. Just that whole incident gave me my faith back, because I had lost my faith. I was a believer my whole life. I had attended church. I was baptized. I was baptized when I was 12. I attended church my whole life. And then I lost my faith when my mother died. I'll tell you that story real quick as well. I lost my faith when my mother died because my mother died on March 24th, 1994, when I was 19 years old. I was to turn 20 in May in that year. So I was already raised. My mother had already raised me, but I was looking forward to our friendship continuing. Me and my mother had a great friendship. We used to I would just hang out at home on the weekends, and we'd laugh and laugh and laugh. We'd play games, and my grandmother would come over, we'd play games, and we'd laugh, and we'd all laugh, and just, had a great relationship with my mother and a great relationship with my small family. It was just me, my sister, my stepfather, my mom, and my grandmother. Also, my aunt. my mother's younger half sister. So that was our whole family. That we would get together often and have great times together often. And I would miss, you know, my friends would, I was always invited to the biggest parties in school. That was such a big thing for so many people to get invited to the, so and so's big party. And so my other friends that were also invited were saying, "You going to so and so's party this weekend?" I said, "No, I think I'm going to stay home." So I would stay home just to hang out with my mom, which sounded, like man, you're a little pussy. I'm not a pussy. I love my mom, and we have a good time together. So I'd rather be around my mom than you guys. That's what That's what I'm saying. I have more fun hanging out with my mom than hanging out with all you drunks. That's all they would do: get drunk and fight, which would drag me into the fights as well. I never drank. They couldn't make me drink. But when my friends were in a fight and I feel like they needed help, I would jump into the fight too. And I got tired of fighting. Man, I was pretty good at it. Man, I never liked it. I mean, there's nothing to gain from fighting. Even if you win the fight, quote unquote, win the fight, you still took your bumps and bruises, so you lost. Even when maybe you knocked someone out or really beat the crap out of somebody, and I never felt good about that. And plus, my hand would always hurt for the next couple of weeks, or I may have maybe caught a couple shots in the nose in the meantime, and so my nose hurt. I couldn't breathe, I couldn't sneeze, I couldn't cough for the next little while. So there's nothing that benefits from drinking or fighting. And I was never a drinker. I didn't have to drink because they all drank, but I felt like I had to fight because they all fought, and I got tired of it. So a lot of times I'm like, nah, I don't feel like going out and watching you guys get drunk, and then you know. And we did have a designated driver. His name was Gerald. Gerald would go out, and he was sure not to drink and not to get drunk, not to drink at all. And he was our designated driver when we went out. That's the only reason I would ever, when I did go out. That's the only reason I did go out when I did go out is because we had a designated driver, Gerald. I was not going to drive with any of these drunk idiots or drunken idiots. I think you're supposed to say drunken, not drunk. Well, they are drunk. So I wouldn't let one of these drunken idiots. I mean, I don't want to call my friends idiots, but so many of them were, or even are, still. Although I don't talk to them anymore since my stroke. So many people have abandoned me, but I do have a small group of hardcore friends who are still there for me and have been there the whole time since my stroke. So many other people have abandoned me, and I miss them dreadfully. But I have to tell myself if they don't want to, they don't want to see me, then I shouldn't want to see them. There are people I still text and beg to come see me, and they just don't answer my texts or my phone calls. Um, I don't know. This is supposed to be a complete dedication to Scotty Butters, and I got turned. I got. Oh, I'm talking about my faith. Well, I think I've already said that. Well, I told you how I lost my faith when my mom died, and the reason I lost my faith when my mom died is because I prayed. Whenever I prayed, I didn't ever pray for my whole life. I never prayed for myself. I never prayed for me to score the winning goal, although so often I did score the winning goal. I was a soccer player, grew up playing soccer my whole life. I was pretty good at it and did pretty well at it. Um, so I never prayed for me to, get the bike I wanted. I knew if my mother could, she'd buy me whatever I needed. And she always bought what I needed. We always had a roof over. I always had a roof over my head and a bed to sleep in, and it was warm in the house when it was cold outside, and it was cool in the house when it was hot outside. So I had everything I needed. I never went to bed hungry. Well, I might have gone to bed hungry, but that wasn't my mother's fault. I ate. I just probably wanted more, and She wouldn't let me have more because I already had a weight problem as a youngster. And as you can see, it hasn't stopped. It hasn't changed. It didn't change. So we always had what we needed when I was growing up. Roof over my head, food in my belly. I ate breakfast, lunch, and dinner every day. There was never a time that there was nothing to eat for dinner. We always had something to eat. And so so I was getting to the fact that when I prayed, I never prayed. If I wanted a certain bike, like everybody else was getting a fancy bike. You know, Diamondback was a big fancy bike that was expensive. A Diamondback bike. I always wanted a Diamondback because everybody was talking about it. I never had one. Or a Red Line was another name. But I never prayed to get one. I wanted one. I would tell my mother how much I wanted one, and to a spoiler alert, I never got one. But I never prayed for one. I just asked my mother, and I knew that if she could, she'd give me one. But we grew up poor, which was even more of an amazing story that we always had food on the table and a roof over our head, and a warm house when it was cold and a cool house when it was hot. Because we grew up poor. My mother was on welfare, and did odds and end jobs to get a little extra money for us. And she walked the miles to and from the grocery store because she didn't have a car. She knew she didn't have a car when we were growing up. She didn't have a car, so she would have to walk to and from the grocery store. And as I got older and realized how far she walked, when I drove it was a long drive. Just driving to the, I worked at that grocery store that she would walk to and to and from. I worked on it. My first job was as a bagger at that grocery store. And I had to, there were times that I might have been late for work. I had to really rush in my car to get there on time. But it was a decent drive. My mother walked that every week, back and forth, to make sure there was food for us. Make sure there was milk and bread and cereal and whatever else, And she had to bring it all back without a car. Luckily, she had a little cart she would drag with her, and she'd load up her food in not a shopping cart, but just a little handheld cart, and she would load up her cart and get it and walk it back home. She'd have to bring the cart to the store, even though it was empty going there. It was filled with food coming back, which made the hike back a little harder, I'm sure. So I'm getting to a point, don't worry. This is how I lost my faith. And how I lost my faith. So I never prayed for anything to come to me. I always prayed for my family. I always prayed that everybody was safe and, everybody was healthy and safe, and my family or my friends, or my. There was times when my sister would enter her dog into a local, dog pageant, and I always prayed that she would do well. And just things like that, or if my sister was going out for show choir or things like that, I would always pray that she did well and that she was cast in this or that. And so, those are the things I prayed for. So when my mom died, I prayed for relief. I never knew that anyone could suffer such mental anguish. So I prayed for relief from that. This is how I learned that it's in his time, not ours. I'll tell you that story too. So I prayed for relief, and I didn't get any. Months went by, actually years went by, and I still, not years, but weeks went by, months went by, over a year went by. I still suffered daily from missing my mother and just hurting so bad inside. And so I kept begging, please let this go away. And it didn't go away. I can't say it never went away, but it didn't go away in my time. But And I still, to this day, miss my mom on holidays and on Mother's Day, of course, on what would have been her birthday, on my birthday, all these, there's so many days of the year that I miss my mother dreadfully. But the anguish is gone. I mean, I always will love her and think about her. She was a great woman and we were best friends. But I don't know if I finished my point about not going to parties. I hung out with my mom, and now that she's dead, I don't regret missing one fucking party. I'm glad I spent a lot of time with my mom. I got a lot of laughter and joy from my mom. And I don't mind missing one party because I spent it with my mom. I don't care what my friends thought about me. I could be as many pussies as they wanted to call me. But I liked hanging out with my mom. I loved my mom. We had a great time. She was a better time than they were. We laughed and had a good. She was very intelligent. They were drunken idiots so often. I got my first cup of coffee here, so I'm making my first video of the day. That's how it works. Many of you longtime viewers know that when I get my first cup of coffee for the day, I make the first video of the day. So I never missed one. I missed several parties, but I didn't care missing one fucking party after my mom died. I didn't regret that. I didn't regret not going to parties and instead of hanging out with her. So like I was saying, I prayed and prayed and prayed for relief from the mental anguish that I was suffering, and it didn't come in my time. It came in his time whenever, because I was so depressed over my mother's death. Like I said, for over a year, I dropped out of school when she died. I was going to college, community college, but I dropped out of school and I quit working. I didn't work again because I just didn't feel like working. I was just too much in a funk to work, and I didn't care. So I moved, like I said earlier. I think I said earlier that I moved in with a girl named Lori. I moved into her house. Her grandmother bought her a house because she had just had a child. Raymond's his name, a little boy she had. Right, he was an infant when I met her. I helped raise him from infancy until when he was 6 when we broke up. So he became like my little boy, like my son. He was my little buddy for sure. So anyway, I laid around on her couch, well, and in her bed, of course. We sure shared the same bed, of course, but all I did was lay around being a bum while she basically took care of me. She worked and I was a bum. And her mother did not like that, Lori was taking care of a bum, basically. So, her mother her mother would circle all sorts of jobs that were available in the newspaper and bring them to me. I'd bring them to Lori and say, get Aaron to try to get one of these jobs. And I'd be like, Lori, I don't know, I just don't want to do any of this. I just was in a funk. I didn't feel like working. I was a bum. And as long as Lori was taking care of me, I was happy with that. Because I didn't want to work. I was in a funk. And so, I mean, there's no way to look at it. There's no other way to look at it. I was a bum. So, Lori's mom was always trying to get me to work because she didn't like the fact that her daughter was taking care of a bum. So, she would circle all these. Now, when I was in 5th grade, I did my very first play. It was a show called How the West Was Really Won. And I got a leading role in that play. And the first the first night, on opening night, the first night I stepped on stage and delivered the first funny line of the play, and the whole audience laughed. And that hit me in the chest as the audience laughing at the same time. It just gets you. And I was bitten by the acting bug, as they say. And from then on, from that first night on, I knew that I wanted to be a professional actor. That's what I wanted to do with my life. I wanted to be a professional actor. So that was my dream. That's a dream a lot of people have. It just doesn't come true because it's just so, just so many people have the same dream. And, that's why everybody flocks to New York to drive taxi cabs or wait tables because the competition is just so high in places like New York, Chicago, other places, even St. Louis here where I am. So it was a very low shot that I was going to be an actor, a professional actor. Now I was a stage. I wasn't on television or in film. I'm a stage actor. I was a stage actor. So her mother, Lori's mother, like I said, was always looking through ads for me to get and find a job. I kept I kept refusing to look for any of these jobs. I did get a job one time working at Lowe's or I think it was one of these hardware stores, but you have to literally walk probably miles throughout a day of working in these stores because the stores are so huge and people want to know. You know, you have to take people to certain aisles or go down the aisles and find things for them. And when you don't know, when you're brand new, you have to walk even further because you have to, you have to look for things yourself. You have to look for the aisles yourself too. And so I got a job at Lowe's or some hardware store. I forget what it was, and uh, it was the one where they wear the orange pouches. If you happen to know what that was, remind me. Uh, so how far am I into this? About a half hour so far. So if you're still watching, thank you. I bet Scotty Butters is still watching. I'm definitely going to tune in to Tuesday Live. Again, don't forget, it's Tuesdays at 8 p.m. Eastern. Tuesday Live. Tuesdays at 8 p.m. Eastern. Now, like I was saying, my dream was to become a professional actor. At this point, I was being a professional bum. So I lost my faith because I got mad that I got to finish that part. I got mad that, you know, me praying for release from the mental anguish was met with it not coming in my time. So there I was laying on Lori's couch being a bum. Her mother was fed up with it, so she kept trying to find me ads and find me jobs that I would refuse to even try out and not even try for. Then one day she saw that there was an ad looking for a production company, and then the production company was Perino Productions looking for actors, professional actors, looking for actors to join a professional acting company. So she came in when she came into the house one day. I was laying on the couch like I always do, like a bum. And she came in the house and she said, "Well, Aaron, you don't want to work at Lowe's or whatever it was. You don't want to do this job. You don't want to do that job. You don't want to do this whatever." She said, "Now you say you're an actor, so why don't you do this job?" She said, "If you're such an actor, then you should be able to get this job." And so she just dropped the newspaper on my chest, and she had a big red circle around the ad that said, looking for actors to join a professional acting company. And so they said, well, it was a cattle call audition, which means anyone can come. It's an open audition. All you gotta do is sign up, show up and sign up and do your audition and see if you make it into the company. Well, it was a split between a cut piece audition and an improvisational audition. A cut piece audition means you bring in, well, if it was a musical, you would bring in X amount of bars. They would tell you how many bars of a song they wanted you to bring in to sing, to perform. Now there was a lot of, now I didn't, I right away told Donna Perino, the owner of the production company, that I don't sing when I got to, but they were going to do musicals in this production company. They did musicals, and so they did also ask for, they wanted a cut piece on musical audition, which means you take a piece out of a monologue from another play, and you come in and you do that monologue from another play, another character from another play. And so it was a cut piece audition from both the musicians and the singers and from the actors. The singers came in with their X amount of bars that they were required to bring, and then Donna was a composer and a great pianist, so she would play They would bring in they would bring in the music, and she would read the music and play along and play with them, and they would sing their part. And so the singers, the ones that were there to sing, were would do their X amount of bars of a song, and then she would decide if she was going to cast them based on their singing. Although they also had to do a little improvisational acting as well, improvisational auditioning as well, as far as acting, because she wanted, for musical theater, you have to act and you have to sing, and there was no dancing really in the musicals we did. They were all original musicals written by Donna, or composed by Donna, and written by a gentleman named John. He also directed the shows, and he wrote the lyrics and wrote the plays, while Donna composed the music. So Laurie's mother, Anita, is or was her name. I don't know if she's still alive. So Anita came in and dropped this newspaper on my chest and said, "You say you're an actor, so why don't you try out? You don't want to work at Lowe's, you don't want to do this, you don't want to do that. Well, why don't you try to do this? You say you're an actor." And the way she said it was like challenging the fact that I can act, and I could act. I had been acting since I was in fifth grade. I'd done all kinds of shows. I've done community theater. I had done all kinds of shows. I was a good actor. I was a very good actor, and the fact that she was challenging whether I could act or not kind of, motivated me to. I was definitely, I was definitely going to go try out our audition, but I was motivated. I was motivated by her sarcasm to knock 'em dead when I went to the audition, as they say, knock 'em dead. The actor's audition was a cut piece, so I took the monologue from Ten Little Indians, where Judge Wargrave does his little spiel. I used that monologue to audition, and after the audition, so often, you'll hear, "We'll call you," or "Don't call us, we'll call you," or "We'll let you know if you know." But instead, after my audition, I was handed a manila envelope, and I said, "Well, what's this?" She said, that's our first script, our first play, our first script we're doing." She said, "Be here at whatever time, you know, for our first rehearsal." And I said, "Well, does this mean I'm cast?" She said, "Yes. Welcome to the company." I was like, "No way." That was awesome. So that started my first uh, bit of professional acting. My dream came true because all because his relief came in his time, not my time. Thank God. So if I wasn't a bum on that couch, still in a funk because my mother died, I never would have been given that paper. I never would have been searching for. No one would have been searching through papers for me to get jobs, and I'm sure I never would have seen that that article for actors. So I'd like to testify for him in that. So I got my faith. That's how it lost my faith. Is the fact that my the mental anguish didn't go away when I prayed for it, because I never prayed for anything for me other than that. What's that? I'm gonna eat. I'm gonna finish this video first. I'm sorry. All right, so I have to go now because I want to eat. Well, it's been over a half hour. My gosh. So anyway, uh, the relief from my mother's death didn't come in my time. It came in his time, and because he didn't give me instant relief, I reached my dream of becoming a professional actor. So throughout my 20s, I acted professionally, due to the fact that I was laying on Laurie's couch like a bum, and her mother wanted to get me off that couch, and she did. And then I started providing for Laurie and her son, instead of me being a bum and Laurie providing for me and her son. I started providing from them all through acting. I paid for everything through acting, our food, everything else. After Laurie and I broke up, I uh, I needed an apartment. I paid for my apartment, my car. It's insurance, it's payments, my apartment payments, it's utilities and everything. I paid for everything for myself after Lori and I broke up and I moved out. I paid for all that through acting. A dream come true for me. All because it was in his time, not mine, not ours. It's in his time, not ours. Don't forget that. So when you pray for something and it doesn't come right away, um, you know, he knows what's best for us, is what I'm saying. And just because something doesn't come in your time, in our time, it will come eventually. If it's to be. It apparently was to be for me to, you know, stay in a funk and missing my mother and stay in a funk and not wanting to work and not wanting to go to school because he knew that that would lead to me becoming a professional actor, like it was my dream. Now I never wanted to be on TV or in film. I just wanted to act on stage, and I did that with a professional acting company, Perino Productions, in St. Louis, Missouri. That's where I'm born and raised. Anyway, after 35 minutes and 54 seconds, so about 36 minutes, I'm going to hang it up now. I'm going to tell you Two Fingers A-Dub Club. See you when I see you. Pizza rolls. Go check out Scotty Butters on Tuesdays at 8 p.m. Eastern. Tuesdays. All right. So I'm gonna let you go now. Pizza rolls. See ya. See ya. Peace.